Okay, we are 1 o'clock right on the dot. And considering that we were held back a little bit yesterday in timing, I think what we will do is we'll get started promptly today, which I think is important. And been a productive day, been a busy day. I was laughing because I wanted to go for a run because I had a few 17-hour days last week and yesterday, and my head kept saying, no, it's middle of the day, keep working. You can't go for a run in the middle of the day. Our brain plays tricks on us, right? And so I walked around the house saying, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, and went out for the run. And I thought it was kind of funny, it's just like Nemo, just keep swimming, or when you're at Tony Robbins and they want you to walk across coal and they have you going, yes, 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 for, 45 minutes continually up until you get up to the coal. And I think it's obviously it's very intentional, right? To change our states. And Lucia and I work a lot with tools that help us change our state. And we can either use our body to change our state, or we can use our mind. That idea that we can't think our way into a new way of acting, but we can act our way into a new way of doing. Sometimes actively thinking differently can lead to new doing as well, which is great. So we're all so excited to have all of you back. We've upgraded our platform, so I just have to watch to constantly let people in. You guys have all been automatically muted when you come in, just to make sure we don't have background noise, because that was a little bit of an issue yesterday. So we are going to be talking about CRMs today, database, how to use this time to optimize, to be really efficient, to take action. And we're going to start off the day having you guys in a moment contribute, but I asked Lucia this question. Lucia is going to be working with me today. Lucia Gouveia, she is, and your screen says Bradley, Lucia, so I'm just making sure they know who is who. Lucia works with us as part of our KBCC coaching team. She specializes and works with our clients when they are, for example, organizing their database, like we're going to talk about today, perhaps hiring an administrator, unlicensed or licensed support. She works with our clients to train the people that they hire, sometimes to train them to set up their databases, their checklists, their processes, their plans. She works with us on budgets, analysis, compensation structures for team members. I'm probably missing even more, Lucia, but I'm just doing like the obvious. So we have different experts in our team, and that's really intentional. So Ron James is going to be on with me tomorrow. He's another expert with our team. So Lucia is right in her area of specialty that she works with people all the time with. So I'm really, really happy and thankful to have her on this call. But I started off by talking to Lucia and saying, I want to open the question. I'm going to open it to all of you momentarily in the chat to put in what you did over the last 24 hours. It can be yesterday or today, to be productive. And I started by asking Lucia this question, and I know you've got a little one at home. Well, mine are 14 and 17, right? So anything younger, I think, is a little one. But for you, what's the last 2 days been like, and what were you doing to try to be more productive?
Well, for me,
how do we turn the volume off?
Oh, are you guys having trouble hearing me?
Nope, we can hear you.
What I did actually in the last couple of days, I've done a couple of things. So the first thing I wanted to do was that I actually had to.
Background running.
Was iPhone? A lot of background noise there. Not sure who that is. Okay, I'll try again. So the last couple of days have been a little bit trying, obviously, because we now just come off the official quote unquote March break, and now we're into the traditional 2 weeks that we have with our kids at home. And so I'm trying to figure out how to balance my son's high energy, he's 7, between energetic play or, just getting outside time, as well as in addition to balancing out with some from homework, or basically getting some things where we can balance his mind share as well. So what I had to do is I actually work off a perfect week, which is it's for me, it's like I have to work off a perfect week. There's no way I can do what I do with coaching and working in real estate without having intentional time set aside. So I've actually had to adjust my perfect week over the last little bit to accommodate my son's learning schedule. So whether that be a few minutes in the morning where I can sit down and do some work with him in the morning, we then have some play throughout the day. He's got some games that we can play on Prodigy, which is like a learning game. In addition to that, doing like there's a program that they had, like a social open house or party house for his friends, so he can get together with his friends online and talk with them. in addition, and then on top of that, like an evening play or routine. So that was first part of it. But the second part was that as I said to some of my clients today, I practice what I preach. I had to redo some of my systems. So I spent last couple of days redoing my systems and making sure that I fine tune all my systems to make sure that everything's ready for when I get back up and running in full capacity. I'm still doing real estate, but what my clients need right now and support. But I wanted to make sure that I at least started working on the foundational stuff so that when things get crazy again, as I'm sure they will, that I'm ready for all that. Kathleen, you're on mute.
I muted everyone, even myself, so we could hear. Ron's like, control the muting. I'm trying. Yeah, so work with what we can, and some of us are carving out space, right? I'm trying to carve out space that's non-work because my personality will just go into like, put your head down, right, and stay there and indefinitely. So I always have to carve out other space for the kids and fitness and all that fun stuff. So we wanted to take a second because I think it's good to start the meeting on a positive note. And if everybody can just inspire each other with, it can be a little thing, it can be a big thing. Don't judge yourself, but anything you did over the last 24 to 48 hours to be productive, to be able to be proactive and lead and move forward in a way you feel good about. So if you can write something in the chat so we can all share with each other. And we're going to post the list, not your name, but the list after, to give realtors ideas of what they can do to be productive and help each other. So take just 30 seconds and type in the chat, what did you do to be productive in the last day or two? Oh, I'm seeing some. Set myself up to work from home. Awesome. Setting up my home office. Refine the database. Gratitude list. So very important. Right? All of the research on gratitude is phenomenal and how people perceive their happiness levels just from taking the time to be grateful every single day. Another gratitude, selling homes virtually, follow-up emails, home workout. They're going so fast, I'm missing some. Calling our database to check up on them, setting up new systems, sent safety or delivery care packages. Very busy selling houses, still in multiple offers, reaching out to clients. Lots of organizing the database. You're on the right, mastermind today.
It's the one thing we don't get to do, right? We're so busy as realtors acting that when we have a time to slow down, the foundational stuff is what we most need to do right now. More so right now, because when we do get into full-fledged again, it's going to be that much easier to ease back into transactions.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm just letting a couple people just joined us, about 20. So I'm just letting everybody know that we're writing something in chat that we did over the last 24 hours to be productive. And our team are going to take all those ideas, take probably the names off of it. It's only your first names anyway, but share it out after to inspire others of how we can be productive right now. It's funny, I was going, and Lucia, just hold for 1 sec, because I'm going to mute everybody and then unmute you again. There we go. You have the option, if you're not used to being on Zoom, you have the option on the upper right corner to put it on speaker view. And what that will do is whoever's speaking, it'll make their box much bigger, essentially. In a couple of minutes, I'm going to be sharing some PowerPoint as well. I created a new presentation for this last night. So I thought that would be great. So that will take up part of the screen as well. And it was funny, you know, I was thinking this morning after I went for a run about kind of our energy, you know, and how we use it and how we can be such strong leaders in some areas and how it can get misplaced in other areas. And I was thinking about my grandfather when we were kids. I remember there was a time when we were in the car and my grandfather, my grandmother, just whatever, they had kind of a disagreement, but they never yelled at each other. They never raised their voice. Like, we were never worried that something was wrong. But I would never forget being a kid. And if you remember how you would lock the doors, right? You'd press the button for auto lock, but you used to hear it, like it would be kind of loud because the lock would literally move down. And I remember being in the car and my grandfather saying to my grandmother, you know, "Mother, open the door. I want to get out. I'm not happy. You know, pull over. If you don't open the door, I'm going to jump out." Of course, he would not. But she's pressing lock. He's pressing unlock. So all you hear is and we're in the back and my sister's just giggling, right? And my grandmother's staying so calm. And finally she said, "You know, Father, you need to calm down because you're going to scare the children." And instantly my grandfather just stopped. But I thought about, it was so amazing to me to watch how reactive he could be. You know, when something happened, he could instantly get so emotional and react. And it could be fear, it could be frustration, it could be anger. And I never really even knew how intelligent and how strategic and how strong my grandmother, and sarcastic my grandmother was, actually, until my grandfather passed away, because my grandfather took up so much space. So later on, I realized how much my grandmother was doing behind the scenes to actually use her energy to get around all of his reactivity so she could get things done. And what was amazing to me was my grandfather was a very courageous man. You know, he's a district chief in Peterborough for the fire department. My father was an acting district chief. My mother is a retired captain. My stepfather is. My sister, who's on this call with my niece, is a firefighter and a realtor. So is her husband. So is his brother. So they come from a long line of people who act in leadership and courage during difficult times. And it was amazing for me to see a man who was so strong and so courageous that when he wasn't funneling all that energy towards a positive place, it could equally be as powerful in fear or frustration or reactivity. And I went for the run and I thought about it, and I was like, it's really interesting how easy it is for all of us, even as leaders, to get into circumstances where we take energy that's usually really beneficial to us and put it in a way that's actually taking energy away from creating solutions and being positive. We moved our my aunt and her family to Biloxi. We drove with them in Mississippi when they sold their quotas for a dairy farm. And sure enough, we pulled up at that house in Biloxi, and my grandfather gets off the back of the U-Haul and he starts literally looking into the truck, picking up the stuff and throwing it backwards behind him to say, we're going to unpack this car as quick as possible. And again, we sat there, we said, Grandpa, like, you're going to break stuff. Like, let's have a strategy here. We have so many people, let's work together. But his mindset was instantly just react and get it done. And I don't know why I thought about that today, but I think it's because so many of us have such great leadership energy, and it's so easy for it to react and just kind of absorb all of it. And we're not leaving enough room for that strategy. So I'm so happy all of you are here today, because obviously we're here for a reason, so that we can be proactive and have leadership. So I'm thankful for that. And Lucia and I work with some different tools that help people to get into a really focused, structured mindset. So we thought, before we brought up the PowerPoint, Lucia, do you want to explain, or we can together, what learning state is and how we can use that to kind of get really focused in a time where there might be distractions around us?
Yeah, learning state is basically what we'll put ourselves into a bit of it's a better way for us to be able to absorb the information that we're taking, because we are actually getting a lot of information at any given point. And when we do really want to hyper focus on what's going on in front of us, it's best to kind of go into what we call learning state. Learning state can be easily attained. It's very simple to do. You're basically going to look at in front of a wall in front of you, pick a point in front of the wall in front of you, just any point, and any point will do. Just look a little bit slightly above that point. So you're almost looking towards your third eye. And what you're going to start to do is slowly expand out. And what I like to do is take your fingers to begin with, because if you start to look at your peripheral vision and start to see how far you can actually move back. So if you guys want to try doing this right now, just to kind of get us focused in terms of what we're doing right now. So you're looking at the wall in front of you, picking any point, putting your fingers beside you. And as you continuously go back, try to see how far you can see back where your fingers are. And once you can't see your fingers any longer, then I want you to try to imagine what the wall behind you looks like, or what's behind you in your room, in your space, including if there's a doorway behind you, a filing cabinet, whatever that looks like in the room behind you. And I want you to continuously look back until you're just about towards the back end, as far as you can reach. And once you've done that, just refocus your eyes and come back into the room. So that will kind of put us in a state in terms of what we need to do moving forward for learning what we need to take in today, and ignoring all the stuff that we don't necessarily need to hear.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lucia. And that's a technique we use a lot. You can use it with your teams if you're coming into a meeting and everybody's having trouble kind of just settling energy. It's a great way just to calm zone in, and actually helps our brains to go, okay, well, we're going to focus on where we are now, which is fantastic. Thank you for doing that. Just again, because I saw a comment, it's called going into learning state. I just saw that question on the chat. It's an NLP technique that we use usually in large rooms together, but hey, we're in a large room online, so it works equally as well. But if you're having trouble seeing Lucia when she's talking, please go up with your mouse to the top right, and you'll see a bunch of like a block with a bunch of different like squares within it. Click on that and select speaker view. When you do that, whoever's talking will be big, and right now everybody's muted except for Lucy and I, so that will work. And we're right about to share screens, so that should take away that problem as well. So what we are talking about today, I'm just going to bring up the PowerPoint. It's letting me still have people joining. Just 1 second. There we go. I think it's funny, Lucia, because of yesterday, I'm waiting because Zoom had so many magical tricks for us. Every time I click something that usually has worked for us for years, I'm like, oh, please don't have any issues there. Okay. Oh, good. And it's going to tell me when people are coming in. So today, what are we looking to accomplish? Lucy and I are going to take you through some tips, some strategies, what we can do to organize your database, but we're also going to show you what you need by way of actual tools, lists, broken down pieces of your sales process in order to make this really efficient. What I want to encourage everyone, how I want to encourage everyone to look at this is some of you are going to go through the whole thing and you're going to go, yeah, I have 90% of this, maybe you even have 99% of it, and you're going to take some nuances. Some of you are going to look at this and go, okay, oh my goodness, I don't have all these levels of systems and plans and strategies. The goal here is not to go into overwhelm. When we're in overwhelm, we don't take action. We know this well. Overwhelm is not a good place for our brains. What I want you to do is to write down 3 things specifically. And for some of you, these might be big things. It might be, hey, I want to implement all these plans. I want to update my tags. I want to reorganize how I have lists of the people that I need to call. I want to reorganize the notes I make in my CRM. Those might be big things. For other people, you might have a list of just 3 specific things. Like I want to start to include, you know, timing and need in all of my CRM notes. I want to start to make sure I have a follow-up activity for every single person and that I stay on top of that. I want to start to tag, you know, source of business. So at the end of the year, I know what's working, what's not. It could be 3 really little things. It could be 3 big things. Do not get overwhelmed in this, because anytime I create a presentation or training, my goal is very specific. It's to show you a vision of how, you know, top 1% thriving teams might use this, but also to show you a vision of how you can optimize right now in your business if you're an individual agent. So don't get overwhelmed with that. If anything, you can get inspired by, hey, here's where I can keep moving with my database to make it integral or to make it, more valuable for me. So today is CRM organization and optimization. Oop. There we go. It's like Zoom, work with me. When is it a good time to start working with a database? When is it a good time to start to improve the database? And what are some indicators? First, before we even go to the next screen, I think I'm going to have my answer, but I can sometimes be militant with things. Lucia, when's a good time to start a database or start improving a database?
Immediately. Like honestly, when I started the industry, what I first started doing was I actually made a list of anybody that I had contact with over in any career that I had, and started creating a list of people, entering them into, at that point, it would have been Gmail, and sectioning off in terms of how I actually knew that person and what that source was initially. Once I decided to get into a full adaptable CRM, it became that much easier to allocate the source and put some additional measures in place, like birth dates, anniversaries. But as soon as you get into any type of industry, like where we depend, our livelihood depends on connections with individuals, your database should be started immediately, including any agents that you've dealt with in the past, because you should be keeping a separate list for them as well.
Absolutely. So the idea, you know, that we have relationships with people we care about, and we want to have notes so that we can show them we care and we remember who they are, and we want to be organized. But we also know that the human brain is really limited. And when I talk about CRM, I think it's really important to say, you know, we can really easily overestimate how much we can remember and remember well. Our bandwidth is nowhere near what we think it is. And usually when it comes to CRM, I tell this story, so I'm going to tell, some of you may have heard it, and that's okay. When they first went to put software into restaurants, right? So you guys know the touch screens that we see all the time now with the orders, what food and all the, you know, the, what is the word, accommodations people want, like I don't want ketchup, I don't want mustard, whatever that McDonald's does on a screen now. But when they first brought this software into restaurants, a lot of the serving staff did not want to work with them. So they said, hey, like I'm really good, I remember all the orders, I'm on top of it, like it's going to slow me down to have to go to a computer and type in every little thing that these people need. You rather just do my business the way I've always done it. So what they did was really smart. They took a restaurant, they divided it in half, and they said half of the servers, and they even said, if you believe you're strongest at this, you can have the half of the room where you're not going to use the software. So you can serve your clients as you always have, and just do it by memory. The other half of the restaurant had to go to the software, and they had to, and I'm just gonna, I might have to go out to mute people. So if you're coming in, if you could just make sure you're on mute, that would be appreciated. I think we had them all. So the other half of the restaurant had to go to the software. They had to click on the table, click on the seat, put the exact order for every single person. And what did they find afterwards? So although the servers felt that they were better off remembering and getting things done, they were actually able to serve 3 times more tables by using the software, simply by putting in the orders about what everyone was looking for. Why? Because the minute that we can move our focus and take this bandwidth that we're using right now to remember what's going on with every single person we've been in communication with, we open our brain to be more focused on the people who are actually buying and selling now, the people that were, the initiatives that we're doing to put more people in the database. So we'll be talking about the sales process momentarily, and why that's important when it comes to CRM, because they go hand in hand. I'm just trying to see if I can mute everybody from here. Okay, I might have to go out momentarily. Let's see. Okay. Fortunately, I cannot mute everybody from this screen. Just one second. So we're momentarily going to stop sharing. And we're going to go back over here. Mute all. Oh, I see now. There we go. Okay. It should be good now. I see the one little setting that was still off. We live and we learn. We are learning. Okay. Awesome. There we go. Okay. So the restaurant example I really love because, and Lucia, you're still there?
I am, yes.
Awesome, thank you. I really love, because there was this realization of our database can be this extension of our brain, which means we can take better care of people and we can actually do more business. So when we work with top producers to try to allow them to have an ability to do much more business in the same amount of time, or in a less amount of time, what we're looking to do is actually expand their capacity. CRM or database, it's a great way to keep in touch with people. It's a great way to organize yourself so you don't forget any little touch bases, but even more, it's a great way to expand your business. So I always use this as an example. When I stopped selling full time when I transitioned into running the previous coaching company that I ran, I had 86 active buyer representation agreements at that time. So I say that because I wasn't talking to all of those people every single day, far from it, but I had a plan that I trusted, that I relied on, that I knew would remind me when I needed to be in touch with people. I set expectations for clients up front so they knew when they were likely to hear from me, when they should reach out to me. When we set the expectation, when people are frustrated is when expectation and reality have too big of a gap. And you're going to hear me talking about that a lot this week, because we're managing a lot of expectations this week with the public and with clientele. And I think it's really important to give realistic expectations. And we will talk about different options for CRM and what we look for in a CRM for a team or an individual. We're not selling a CRM. We've very purposely chosen not to try to have one CRM that all of our clients are on, and I'll explain why afterwards. So are we seeing these indicators? So what are some of the indicators? When you think of someone, call them and they've already listed. That used to be like vein of my existence. I would have this like, you know, realtor's premonition of something's going on. I've got to call those people. And when I called, I was always so happy, but I got to tell you, there was times when I was busy and I didn't call. And every single time I kicked myself, I was like, come on, like they were coming to mind. The universe was telling you like, knock, knock, Kathleen, make a call. And afterwards I would go in my system and sure enough, there was an activity there that I had missed, or I hadn't organized something properly, or I missed a follow-up and hadn't scheduled it. So the CRM was ready to keep me on track and I had dropped the ball and hadn't called those clients. So when you're thinking of someone, you call them and they've already listed, that's a great sign that maybe we need to be organizing the CRM and make sure that we're on track with it. Okay, and I'm going to look at the chats after because I think they're all helpful comments. I just wasn't sure if there were questions. When you find that you're getting messages to call clients as a second request, that's really important. What we don't want to do is lump all clients into the same bucket or the same pool, right? We want to treat them in a way that's appropriate to our relationship with them. Are they a prospective client? Are they an active client? Are they an active client that's on hold right now? Are they a past client? Are they somebody who is about to buy or sell? So they're top of mind for us. We don't want them living in our database right now. We want them top of mind, taking our bandwidth, taking up all of those people. The other thing that I love so much about CRM, and I'll get back to this list, is that it helps us to stop giving ourselves a false sense of confidence. A lot of realtors are working with this false sense that they have a lot of leads, they have a lot of clients, that they're working with so many people. When we start to actually break down the sales process and we use the CRM, we realize who's actually an active client and who's not. And what I love about this is it's a double-edged sword. So on the one side of things, it'll make you realize how much more capacity you have for active clients. On the other side of that sword, it'll make you realize how many people are actually not active, that you're giving perhaps your time, your energy, and attention, that are not ready to move to the next step right now, and you're being busy. Those are not going to lead to positive outcomes right now because those people are not looking for the services that we want to provide to an active client. So organizing your CRM is going to give you, again, double-edged sword. One, wow, I've been perceiving that I have many more opportunities than I thought I had. But the other side of it, I have a much bigger capacity now to organize and serve more people, which is really important. Other indicators that we need to get really organized with our CRM. When clients are complaining, when your COI rate drops, that's center of influence is our definition. Center of influence for us is past clients, it's friends and family. Oh, we'll talk about that after. Yeah, I love that. Okay, it's friends and family. I'm talking about the question in chat. Opportunities, sorry, COI is friends and family, past clients, networking networking initiatives is what I'm trying to say, as well as referrals amongst other agents. That would all be COI in our system. So when you start to see your center of influence rate of business dropping year over year, that's a great indicator that, you know, what's going on in the CRM? Like, do we have activities that are prompting us to reach out and talk to people? Are we ignoring those activities? Because I'll say this, if you start to ignore activities on the center of influence side, don't kid yourself that you're not also ignoring activities on the active client side, the prospective client side, the follow-up side, because when our CRM starts to become white noise, it's not efficient, and it's going to be less efficient across the board. That's really dangerous for us when we start to ignore what our CRM is saying we need to be doing, which we'll get into in a minute. Your office admin have to chase you down for things. A great database is going to allow you, if you're on a team, to communicate with other people on your team. If you're on your own, it's going to prompt you for all the important things that you need to do. So you're internally managing yourself and you're being efficient. This is really important. And I saw in the chat, the best CRM is one that you use, yes and no. Yes, if you're not using a CRM, using one is going to be exponentially better for your business. But for teams, we require some really specific things when it comes to a CRM. The other myth is that you need multiple ones. it's pretty messy to have multiple databases. Now with our technology, we have great programs which will allow you to do everything on their hub, or if you're really advanced, they allow API to plug things in so you can talk with other like Zapier or Trello or Monday or Asana, other like process driven plans. You can actually integrate and work together. So having multiple systems can be tricky. Some of our clients are using Kits, which is David Greenspan. He was on yesterday with Mindshare. They use his platform either as a database or they use it just for a marketing portal, because they can automate all of their like paper send out marketing on his system. So they don't all use it as a database, but some just use it as a portal for marketing. So opportunities are falling through the cracks. You have increased ad spend or leads. So if you're investing in increasing your ad spend, increasing your leads are increasing that are coming into your business, or you notice that your leads are increasing, but your conversion isn't. So what's going on? You know, we have double the leads that we used to have, but we're not doing any more deals. That's a great indicator that you want to go back and optimize your CRM. And finally, you have extra time during a pandemic. You know, why not? We do. So it's another great reason to optimize your CRM and be useful with our time. So some bigger level indicators, we'll see these ones really quickly. People are saying, oh, I didn't want to bother you. I know you're busy, so they're not reaching out. That's an indicator that people think you're unavailable, right? And we always say, you know, if you are overwhelmed, you will not see new opportunities around you. So a big focus right now, when there's so much fear and there's so much panic, is to get out of the overwhelm and get into a place where we can be progressive, where we're being proactive, not reactive. So when you're overwhelmed, it's the equivalent of being underwater. When you're underwater, all you want to do is get air, right? Somebody can say, hey, we've got the best chocolate in the world. Hey, try this steak. Or, hey, we're going to open, you know, have a new business venture. Do you want to invest in it? Or, oh, I haven't seen you in a while, waving at you in a normal time when you're going to leave your driveway and the neighbor's going, we've been thinking about selling, but we're not sure. We had a couple of questions for you. When you're in overwhelm, all you hear is, I'm busy. Like, I don't have capacity for any other little things. I need to get to what I'm doing in my day. So when we're underwater, we just want air. That's it. So the goal is to get to a place where we're calm and we feel organized, so we're open to more opportunities. And that's, a lot of that is perception as well. You're missing steps with clients and touch bases with potential clients, as in follow-ups. You're forgetting to show past clients that you're thinking of them. Really important. People want to be remembered. They want to be cared about. That's an important thing to do. And you realize in order to do more deals and make more money, you have to organize your CRM. And for any busy agent, like top 10% for sure, earner in their brand nationally, you guys need an optimized CRM. And if you want to get into top 10%, top 5%, top 1% later on, when we come out of this and we're around for the rebound, as I saw somebody posting today, then you're going to want and need an organized CRM, because for most of you, you're going to have many more people you're talking to right now that you're not immediately meeting with in person. So I want to just stress that again. We're going to be talking to many more people that in the past you might have met very quickly after. That won't necessarily be the case. You might do an online buyer consultation. You might do an online listing consultation. You might then go on to do some other virtual steps. You might not. So you're going to have so much more information that's vital to have in your notes in the CRM and have people tagged appropriately. So after, you can go back and help these people follow through on their goals to buy or sell or invest, because they have needs and wants that they're looking to right now as well. And they're looking to us for support in navigating it. Lucia, anything I'm missing? I know we have a lot to cover, but I want to make sure I'm checking. Any other indicators that just like jump out at you of reasons to optimize?
No, because this is stuff that we put together before. So no, this is pretty much on par with this. Like right now, as I said, like it's the time to be doing it. So if you're seeing these already that were in your business before coming on this call today and before everything happened with COVID-19, then you might want to start looking into doing this immediately after you get off the call.
Mm-hmm. Okay, for sure. And we'll talk about CRM options too after, but I don't want to get into that because that's not as important yet in what we're talking about yet. Okay, did I skip anything here? No, okay, good. All right, so question I want you to ask yourself, because this is different for everybody. What tasks do you perform daily that either make you happy, make you energized, or make you more money? And hopefully the 3 are all the same. That's the goal. The goal is we have all 3. We're doing as much as we can in areas of our life that make us happy, make us energized, and make us more money. And why do I say that? Because end of the day, if it's money, if it's time, if it's energy, if it's health, it all comes from a value exchange. So if I want to make more monetary money, if I want my energy to be monetary, I'm going to have a value exchange. So the higher my energy is, and the more I know, and the more I can bring value to the market, I exchange that value either for money, for more free time, for a better feeling of health, or for a sense of contribution. Everybody's motivated in different ways, and that's totally okay. In real estate, often people are focused on, how do I use this to make more money? Nothing wrong with that. Personally, my prosperity of choice is energy. When my energy is high, everything in my life works. So I focus on what do I need to do to stay aligned, stay congruent, stay confident, and stay connected to the vision of where I can go. If I can do those things, everything else works out. But if my energy gets low, I'm not delivering the same with clients. I'm not connecting the same with people. I'm not connected to my bigger purpose here. And that's where I can get fearful and I can maybe not act when I need to act. So I'd encourage you to get connected for yourself. What tasks do you do on a daily basis that allow you to feel that way? Because later on, for some of you, once you organize your CRM, you're going to get busier and busier. And at the end of this, if we have time, we'll see, we'll talk a little bit about leverage, and you might want to think about that. So how can we frame every interaction for your success? Tomorrow, Ron and I are going to do a whole bunch of stuff. He's going to help you guys get on Zoom effortlessly. And I'm going to help kind of reframe our role in this as realtors and how to take our sales process virtual, which we 100% can do. And I'm also going to say right now, and I'll say it tomorrow, this is an I can environment. So if you have a question, if you have something in the chat, absolutely put it in there. But this is an I can environment. This is not a I can't, or we never used to do it that way, or I'm not sure. This is a how can I question forum. And so we will respond only to I can environment mindset because I want to encourage leadership. And if we spend too much time on what we can't do right now, it brings us all down, brings our energy down. So I'm not going to spend any time there. So what's great in this time of potentially taking a pause for those of us who are, we do not sell homes every day. Some of us do, but the majority of us do not sell homes every day. 90 to 95% of our time is not selling a home. It's selling others or educating others. I don't have time to update that language. Educating others on the idea of taking the next step. That's really what we're doing. A lot of those steps happen before we even get to an offer. So during this time where you're right, some may not be confident, to put an offer in without seeing it. Some may be very comfortable with virtual showings, more extensive virtual tours and things like that, information that we can use to guide our clients. Some will be very confident with that. Investors already are, international investors and buyers already are, people who buy sight unseen from builders already are. So we can help our brains make the transition by going, I can, because in other areas of the industry, they already are. I can because they are. And if there's no they are, maybe you can lead the way and somebody else can say, I can because they are. And it makes it so much easier for us all to adapt and go through this transition together. When we do this, when we look at it and we say, hey, the majority of the time with any specific client is not actually spent on the offer. If we look at it that way, we have so much more freedom to nurture our businesses now when we're not out face-to-face as much. So the home sale tends to fall out on the other end. In other words, if we focus on a chain of commitment of steps and process and use our CRM, later on the deals will come naturally. If we drop those steps, that's when at the end of this, when we go to pivot and transition, we're not going to have the opportunities that other people have been using their CRM to bank and ensure that they're going to be stronger and they're creating relationships they're communicating now. So focusing on the deal when we have not put the effort and care into moving our clients through the process is a little like expecting your car to keep driving without gas. It doesn't make sense. And in this time, the beautiful part is we can do so many aspects of this process online before we even get to the deal component here. I'm just checking. What task I do every day to make me happy and energized. Okay, I'm going to come back to that. That is a great question that was just posed in.
Yeah, so the admin question, that's fantastic. Yeah.
I didn't see that. What is the admin question? Lucia, maybe you can help me actually with the.
Yeah, so the person who just asked the question about how you can task to do every day that make you happy. It just says HENN. I'm not sure who the name is, so I apologize. Just so you know, by nature, I'm actually an administrative personality trait.
Yeah.
I do sales. I do sales because I'm system and process oriented. So in terms of your happy place, Amanda, thank you, Amanda. So in terms of your happy places, what do you like to do on a regular basis? As an administrator for myself, I know that I'm happier in my world of paperwork and checklists and process and protocol and procedure, and how I can actually make and better these systems to be more efficient for myself and my business. From your perspective, being that you're in a team, then you want to do it from what can I do to help make the team run that much more efficiently, so that there's nothing falls through the cracks, and I'm supporting the team so that they can be in their zone of sales, which is in front of the clients, which they shine most. So you're going to shine from the perspective of the fact that you can see where you need to get through. You can reverse engineer where you want to go, and then make those plan and processes in place. That's your happy place.
Yeah, for sure. And it can be anything for you. Like, I get great joy this week, and I'm going to answer Dan Kligman's question while I say this. You know, I get immense joy talking to realtors and team leaders who are messaging me, and some are current clients, some are even past clients who just run our systems. And I get so much joy where they're saying, hey, you know what, we booked 14 appointments today and a third of them were on Zoom. And the next day, they're like, you know what? We ended up to sign 7 agreements still last week, and 4 of them were on Zoom, right? So these things make me very happy. So for me, that's a place I get energized, I get joy, because I'm helping to make a bigger impact. You know, for me, I could be out like just signing my own BRAs, but that's not where my heart feels happiest. And I'm in tune with that. So I try to be really careful with, you know what, where do you feel drawn, and where do you feel happy, and where do you feel energized? Because to me, that's a clue of my genius and where I can most give in this world. And that's really important for me to be in tune with that. So Dan asked, are people actually signing BRAs and listings virtually? Yes, 100% they are. Yes. And not just here, our clients in the US as well. So I'm thankful, as always, for the implementers who are showing innovators who are not scared to trip and fall as we create a new process right now. And they're going to lead the way on the other side as well. To be able to transition a lot faster. So Lucia, I'm going to ask a favor of you so that I don't get distracted. Could you be in tune with be in tune with the chat? Thank you. And then if you need me to say something, just let me know. Awesome. So sales process is in front of you right now. I'm in Myers-Briggs called INTJ, and DISC like a DC, but chameleon, I can really flex it depending if I'm aware that day, that moment. But my brain sees everything as interconnected. So if you ask me about a problem that's happening in the showing phase, I'm going to ask you about all the steps that led up to it that created an expectation that might have made the problem more likely to happen. Why do I love systems so much? Because systems are really simple. This is all a system is. It's creating a process that will give you a predictable result 98% of the time. Creating a process, a logical process where we can offer value, we can offer an elevated client experience, which will give us a predictable result over 98% of our incurrences in business. Now, does that mean 98% of people are going to buy with us or choose us? No, it means the system is going to work and do what it's supposed to do 98% of the time. So some people in our industry, they focus on the 2% and they say, yeah, but it doesn't work in this situation. And yeah, but I had a buyer and they didn't want to go in market education and it just didn't work. If you focus on the 2%, your 2% will become 100%. I focus on the 98%. How can I create a predictable system that will work in 98% of the occurrences that we have in our business? And then we'll deal with the 2% on a case-by-case basis. This allows us to have a much more predictable process with clients. Tomorrow with Ron James, we're going to talk about this a lot more, our role as realtors, the role of the buyer and seller, how that comes into effect with this virtual dynamic. So for us, this is our sales process. And we're going to come to this, I'm going to expand on this in a second because I want to get through. The benefits of internalizing us sales process, I'm just showing you ours. We encourage you, if you don't use our systems, to internalize yours. If you are coaching with us, plug into your coach and talk about this. You can always identify where you are in the process and know exactly what to do next with the client. We're going to talk about tomorrow. I can't lead a client through a process if I don't know my process. It becomes blind leading the blind, and we feel really ineffective, right? So you can always identify where you're going in the process and know exactly where to encourage or educate your client with options about going next.
Kathleen, one point to that too as well. And sometimes people who might be on this call might say, but I don't have a process. Trust me, you do. It's the same thing you do with your client over and over again. You just haven't formalized it in the documentation saying this is my process, but I can 100% guarantee you have a process. You just never put it down from pen to paper. Okay.
And some people, it's your genius to write out a process and document it and make it super simple. And some people, it's your genius to be out in front of people, and slowing down that much is really painful for you. That's okay. Lean into your genius and partner with other people who have a genius in the area that you are weak at. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses, everybody. So a dream team is partnering with genius. That's like one of our definitions of a dream team. Okay, you can be proactive in leading your clients in the next step if you know ahead of time what it is, and you can reap the rewards of a proven system over and above anyone who doesn't have one. This is absolutely true. A system will outperform willpower. And I know as humans, we hate hearing that. I hate being told, I dislike being told I can't accomplish something or I can't do something. And as humans, we don't like that. But the reality is, someone with a system will outperform someone just using with willpower, because the system's going to dictate a certain amount of touch bases, a certain approach, and it's going to be consistent. And the other thing a system does that I personally love, and then I'll move on from this, is it gives you, it's like walking up a mountain. Every time I put a new system in place, it solves a problem I had, and I get to take another step. And then I put another little system in place. I get to take another step, another step, another step. And at the end of the day, it's like I get to see visions that the rest of the industry most of the industry will not see as possible, because they haven't created the foundation to get there. Systems allow us to solve immediate problems so we can work our way up to big problems. And big problems is like building an amazing business where I can have free time and I can have a quality of life. That might be a beautiful big problem to solve, right? And I don't want to waste all my time on little problems when I've got like a beautiful opportunity I could work on instead. Okay, so sales process. Why is this super important when it comes to CRM? Because there are systems that fall within all of these different steps. So for us, when it comes to booking an appointment, we're going to break all of this down momentarily, and that'll be a lot quicker because we're giving you the context right now, right? The big picture of how do we plug all these things in, because nothing stands alone, right? Your CRM works with how you talk to clients. It works with how well you plug into your system. I haven't said it, so I'm going to and write this down, and this is a great way to be productive right now. Always, every single top producing agent I've ever worked with always bookends their day. What does that mean? In the morning, they turn on their CRM and they go to their schedule that's connected to their CRM. Any of their appointments they have in the day with a certain client, it's tagged to that client and it syncs to their phone. End of the day, I'm going to go back in my CRM and I'm going to see, what did I accomplish? What did I not accomplish? Oh, wait, did I have anything urgent that got dropped? Just giving ourselves that bookend mentality will allow us to let so much less drop through the cracks. So bookending your day is one of the first things we work on with new agents, because we find if we can get them to hold that habit, wow, what a difference in their performance. And they feel more organized, which is just amazing, right? They feel that they have more room for more opportunities. So sales process, number one, scripting system. What does that have to do? And that's just how you communicate with the client. If you are working on your own, you have a certain way of communicating with clients, absolutely, that for you is your scripting system. So only you can look at how well that's working by tracking it, or how well it's potentially not working. What does that have to do with the CRM? We're going to be talking to so many different people, and we need to be able to talk to people who are going to meet with us now and offer to meet with them. We also need to be able to talk to people who are not ready to meet with us. The internet has expanded, or what is the word? I love when my language doesn't work for me. it has advanced, that's my word. The internet has advanced our sales process so that it starts so much sooner. I think that's the word, doesn't matter. So 6 months is our average now for somebody who's online, you know, considering buying or selling. That average sales process now in their mind is 6 months. It used to be considered like 6 weeks. This is a massive change. So the CRM is going to give you the ability to do what all powerhouse teams do. And anybody want to guess on chat, what do all powerhouse teams do or focus on that gives them a huge edge in the CRM? There's a specific place that they really organize well so that they have an advantage. And Lucy, I'll just give like 30 seconds. You tell me if you think you see the answer. I don't see anyone posting yet. Oh yeah, there's some.
Role play.
Yeah,
One.
well, yeah, role play, absolutely. Practice, 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 right? Mastery. You need to know it so well you can't forget it. That's our goal. Know it so well you cannot forget it. Yep. Anything else you think's the answer? Role play is one. It's not the one I'm looking for.
Time blocking, value proposition, tags, follow-up.
Follow-up. So they're all true, but follow-up was the one in my head. 60% of your business from any purchase leads. So actually even direct marketing. So if you're pushing your message out into the public, like again, you're doing just sold, just listed, you're doing door knocking, maybe you're doing advertised open houses, which is a bit of a mix. You're doing online leads on social, you're doing pay-per-click Google-based leads. You're doing flyering that goes to a certain website and they request an over the net home evaluation, like any of that stuff. We want to make sure that we've got a really strong follow-up system in place, because you will actually get 60% more business from those particular sources when you are working follow-up well. To work follow-up well, we need to have a metric to reach for. And humans work really well with elevated expectations. So we'll perform so much better if we actually know that, hey, if I call, 6 times more, I have a 50% more likelihood of doing more business, then we'll do that. But if we're just doing a follow-up and we don't know the difference, we might call once or twice and stop calling. So one of the plans we're going to talk about shortly is that we need minimum in this phase of the sales process, 2 plans. 1 plan for a new lead. Okay, you need a new lead plan, because the majority of agents either are not calling at all, or they're calling once or twice or 3 times, and it's not enough with new leads overall. We need a new lead plan. If you're in, the really advanced, like inside sales, sometimes we just have lists, and we know we call our lists twice a day, and they're just watching the date the lead came in because they're constantly calling their list. But keep in mind, all they're doing is calling. They're not out with clients. So we need to make it really easy on ourselves that if we're out doing showings eventually, not right now, I got to be careful. My language is just automatic. Please know I'm not, by any means, we're talking only about virtual adaptations. I want to be very careful. So let's say I'm doing an online buyer consultation. Later on, I'm talking to a seller. I'm calling my past clients. I'm doing all of these different things. I need the CRM to remind me. So when I bookend my day, the CRM goes, oh yeah, wait, Kathleen, you were supposed to call these 3 follow-ups today. And I go, okay, I want to at least call them. The likelihood is 1 of the 3 will pick up. I'll call them again tomorrow anyway. But you know what? I'm going to win my day, and I'm going to do those last 3 activities that are there. The top people we work with who do like 100 deals a year on their own with teams, they all have overflow times. What does that mean? They have times in their week that is specifically overflow, where they say, if I get behind and I haven't made my center of influence calls, or I have not made my follow-up calls, I will go into my home office right now in this present time, and I will make those extra calls to catch up. Because when you're doing such a high volume of business, there usually are not any other windows to catch up unless you take your vacation time. And I'm not recommending that. Optimal mindset, super important. So we need minimum 2 leads, or 2 plans at the scripting system, new lead and follow-up. So that I don't want to have to think about how many times to try somebody until they pick up. And when they do pick up, if they're not ready to meet me, I want an automatic way that I can set a new plan at a date in the future and set it and forget it. Literally. I know it's weird, but set it and forget it. Eliminate it from your mind. I'm not searching for homes for that person right now. I'm not, driving around and looking out because I've got extra time and thinking what they might like. They're living in the database right now. I love them. I care for them. I want to service them. I care about the relationship. but the database is nurturing when to reach out to them now so that I can work on more urgent needs with active clients. Okay. So there's that, and that's going to right away give you a much higher return on your marketing dollars spent, and just your leads that are coming in. They're really worthwhile. Lucia, anything I need to know?
Yeah, just someone's just requesting if any ideas or suggestions. I know we have our own new lead follow-up plan that we use at KBCC, but anything in terms of generics that you would probably recommend? Like I would probably say you're probably calling any new leads once every 2 days at minimum. But I mean, that's just like a generic plan, but we obviously have our own built-in systems. Is there anything you can come up with that you think might be helpful to them as well?
Yeah, great question. So my recommendation is, yes, I'm being careful because we have a lot of coaching clients on this call as well. So if you are a coaching client, we have these plans for you. Literally, if you have a admin or unlicensed or a licensed assistant, you're trying to keep somebody busy right now because they're working remotely and they don't have the same client tasks or the same volume of client tasks, they can be inputting these plans for you, which are going to work perfectly with any training you're getting as an agent or your team's getting as an agent. We already have that for you. It can be a bit cumbersome coming up with the plans for sure, but I'd recommend if you don't have it, this is all you want to do. Ask yourself, how many times am I willing to commit to try to contact a new lead before giving up if they don't answer? That's all you want to ask yourself. How many times? What is that for you? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 10? How many times are you committing to try to contact a new lead before you're okay saying, I'm not going to try anymore, I did not get a hold of them? You need to ask yourself that. But the second part is you need to commit to it. Because the minute you put that plan into the system, you have to honor it. If you put it in and it's 10 times and you're calling 5 times, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have 5 activities stack up in your old business, and then you're going to have another 5, and then you're going to have 10, and then you're going to have 20. And the next thing you know, your database will become a place of overwhelm and you won't want to turn it on. So I recommend decide what you're going to commit to right now. We know all the obvious stuff with leads, right? The quicker you call them, the more you're going to get a conversion. Our goal is always 5 minutes or within 15. If you can't do that, still call, because there's a bulk of business that's in follow-up anyway. If they're on other people's websites, a lot of agents don't even call leads back that come in, unfortunately. So make sure you're calling quickly. You're either working with a lead gen company that puts them right into your database, or you put them in quickly and you activate the plan, and then decide how many times you're willing to commit to. Ours is over a month. Most agents without an accountability environment find it really hard to do that many touch bases, but that's the time frame that ours works with, just to let you know.
I would probably recommend, like, I mean, you're coming together with your own personal, like, what do I feel comfortable with? I'd probably say anything less than 10, you're probably not going to get the results you want. I would think that you would need to contact more than 10 times, at least the stats provide that for that. If you look at any type of conversion or talking to leads, probably anything over 10, you're probably going to do yourself a little bit more justice versus anything under 10 calls.
Yeah, and this is something important for those of you who are outsourcing inside sales as well, because the number of attempts most of those companies are doing are dismal, and they're not doing follow-up protocols. And if they are, you're paying them a lot more and they're still not booking a face-to-face appointment. So just be really careful. If you're outsourcing, it's another easy way to go, okay, that problem is solved, but just make sure that it's actually set up in a way that's going to get you benefit. Because if not, you're paying the lead company, you're paying the ISA to outsource, and you're not actually getting the return back. Like we're focused on efficiency. So the next part in the sales process is buyer consultation. And this is a buyer example because the majority of new online leads or leads coming in right now that you're going to be working with, they're going to either want to buy first, they're first-time buyers, they're investors, or they're not sure. Like, I don't know if we should list our house. I don't know if we should buy first. What's going on with the market? I don't know. And in that case, we say, great. Well, I can take you through a process so you can be aware of everything that's going to be listed right now, you know, any price changes, anything new that comes up, and I can take you through an educational process so you feel comfortable about where you might go, and then we can talk about what you should do first. Just because somebody signs up first as a buyer does not mean they'll buy first by any means. We've worked with so many top listing agents who have now incorporated early listing presentations because they didn't like even the buyer language, because they get in the door and they build relationships sooner, and they're less likely to compete. And when they do compete, they have a massive edge. So really, really important to remember, go with the path of least resistance. What people want right now is really important. It's the easiest way to connect with them. It's not by accident that when I offer somebody something they said they already wanted, they usually are interested in it. It's just the consultant's approach. We don't have to push people. We can just listen. So buyer consultation is our next step in our world, which after that we do go to representation. Anybody who's ever seen me speak knows I'm extremely I advocate for representation. I'm a big advocate for the professional status of our industry. Like any lawyer, doctor, accountant, I think it's extremely important. I was really concerned, going to Inman and some of the conferences and hearing a lot of, we're asking people questions, but when you survey people, they don't want to know anything. They just want to go to the house. Well, I want my lawyer to just show up and not charge me for any prep and do a great job in court. But if he just meets me there on that day, it's pretty slim to none that that's going to happen. So I think that there's room for both, hearing what the consumer wants, but also making sure we have a chance to set ourselves up professionally and protect the people we're working with, and as well be efficient. So we found by tracking in data that we require 3 times, you can say this 2 ways. We require 3 times less leads to reach the same goals, or we're 3 times more efficient with the leads we have with using these steps and these systems, and they all have systems within it. So after we would sign up a buyer or a seller, we have another plan that would happen in the database. We have notes that we're going to put in place. We have a plan that's going to remind us, hey, did you start the buyer search? Have you taken the client on market education? Did you make sure the buyer is getting any emails they're supposed to be getting and it's not going to spam? You've been working with the buyer for a couple of weeks. Is everything okay? Should you do a sit-down meeting? It trains us to be extremely proactive with our buyers, and our buyer plan that's in the CRM, here's what it's doing. It's taking the methods and the mentality of the top, where's my mouse? There it is. It's taking the methods and the mentalities of the top agents in our industry and putting them into a process-driven plan. What I love about it that's so amazing is that when you're working with a buyer plan, over time you internalize it. So you just start to do it without even thinking. So it's prompting you to say, well, the best agents would have touched base with their buyers right now. The best agents are sitting down with them and being proactive and communicating, so they're not calling another agent and going, I'm getting their listings. I don't think they even know what I want. I haven't heard from them. I'm so frustrated. Like, can you just help me with, this listing I just saw online, right? So it's going to help us be really proactive with it. And the other system that's going to pop up here right now, buyer plan I already just talked about, is obviously contact management system for past clients. The way that we do it is one of 2. Okay, so anybody can do this. This is a super easy one. When our clients go firm is one thing. We have a plan in place for accepted, we have a plan in place for firm, and we have a plan in place for closed. All 3. And there's activities for us, if you're a team, that go to the administrator or the contract coordinator, whatever it is. There's activities that go to the team leader and or team manager, and there's activities that go to the agent. All 3 people know what the other people are doing. This is really important. So if you have a team, or if you're working with the administrator and they're sending out an email on your behalf or a letter on your behalf, and it's process driven, as an agent, you want to know what that says, and you want it to back up what you're saying on the phone and what you're saying to the client. You want to have a really comprehensive, tight-knit system there. So there's 1 of 2 ways of doing this. Your client goes, closes, not just firm, but closes. We're either going to do 1 of 2 things. So option 1, we're going to set an activity in our CRM for 121 days from now to call that client. Now, there's also a close plan where we want to do a happy call, because that first week after closing is where buyers can have frustrations, or they can decide mentally they're not going to work with their agent again because they felt stressed and they didn't hear from the agent. So a lot of people have activities to touch base then. But 121 days from now, we're going to have 1 activity. Why do some people choose to do it that way? Because they're working with how we're motivated as people. So once you get to that 121 days, if you don't call the past client and move the activity forward, it gets lost and it gets shuffled in old business. So in some of the teams, they do it on purpose to say, hey, if you're not keeping in touch with your past clients and they call in again, then fair is fair. Like, you haven't called this person in 2 years, whoever is contacting them or whoever picks up the phone is who's going to work with that person. If you're an individual agent, you do it for the same reason of, I have to make those calls because if I don't, I'm scared it's going to get shuffled in the CRM and I'm going to drop those people and they're not going to end up to hear from me for, 2 years and they're going to think I don't care, and I do. So that's one reason. The other way you can do it is just set up a plan where every 121 days minimum, the system is going to give you an activity to call that past client. That's the way that we set it up. We also have VIP COI, which are like our top 5 to 10% of our database who refer us the most, do repeat business with us the most. What else? They might be investors. Those people, we're going to talk to them 6 times a year, and we're going to do something nice for them once a quarter. So we'd have our own plan for anyone who's VIP COI, and we tag them with that as well. But Lucy, I'm just going to go through some of this a little bit quicker because I know yesterday we had an hour and a half, but I think the activity today said an hour. So hopefully you guys.
Just one quick question that Valerie asked and said, if you're trying to do a minimum 10 calls, how often would you probably call? I'd probably say at minimum every other day and probably try different time slots in case anybody was wondering and trying to develop their own plan. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Absolutely. For sure. Okay, costs and needs with a CRM. All agents in your CRM need the ability to tag. I think almost every CRM has this. I will say, some people say Excel has this. It kind of does, but it's not the same. Okay, so I know some people are still using Excel. It is not going to be as efficient for you. If you're still using a notebook, that's really hard. Like over the years, my clients who are using a notebook, they're like, yeah, but it makes sense for me. But they end up spending as much time going through the notebook and trying to figure out who they're supposed to be calling as they could have used just to call the people in the first place. It's super tricky. And the same thing of why personally, I know some people love a paper schedule. I'm not a big fan of them because they don't integrate with your CRM. So if you have a team who's trying to help you and move activities for you and you have multiple appointments, the paper schedules are super tricky. Okay. So all agents need tagging abilities, the ability to put plans in place. So it's going to tell you, you're going to create a plan that says every new seller, we're going to send a letter day 1, day 2, we're going to ensure the stager's been booked, or day 1, we're going to ensure the stager's been booked. Let's say day 3, we're going to ensure the photographer has been on site. Day 4, we want the listing live. I'm just giving you guys some basic examples here. There'll also be, do we have the survey? Do we do a mortgage verification? In some areas we talked about the other day, very important. So my plans are going to have all these activities, but when I activate the plan, it's going to tell me just on those days what I need to do. So it's going to populate my to-dos for that day specifically around that client. Can we have timed and untimed tasks? So if something's urgent, like an urgent follow-up that someone's going to book, a CMA with us over the next little while, do we have a timed activity where we can actually put it on our calendar? It's going to prompt us. Versus can we have an untimed place where, touch base with your buyer is going to come up for me. It's not time, but it's going to be connected to Mary Brown. And I know Mary Brown signed a BRA with me 2 weeks ago and I need to call her this week. So mentally I can go, I already talked to Mary yesterday. I'm good. And I can click it, or I can go, I talked to Mary yesterday, but I said I was going to call her again. I'm going to move that activity to tomorrow. So it's going to not be timed on my schedule because I don't want to mix up like my urgent tasks, but it's going to be there and telling me I need to do it that day. It's going to allow me to have multiple people under one contact card. So it's really important. Again, if we're working with Excel, it can get kind of messy because, we have like a partnership or spouses or people are buying together as investors and we can't put them together. We can't separate them easily. We want to make sure we can have them in one place and that we obviously have a note section for what's going on with everyone. We can have a prospecting list call screen. I'm sure Shannon's on this call, but when she was doing inside sales and she had a team that made 500,000 dials a year. So not in their career, like as a department, they made 500,000 dials a year. That's a lot. Their people had a screen that was set up so they could easily go through their call list and they could actually click and see the notes right there. They could write quick notes. So if the person didn't pick up, they could just put NA, like not answered, and it would automatically populate their initials and they could move on to the next person. Super, super fast. Follow-up Boss, I think, is working on an update like that. They don't presently have that to the way we would love them to, but I believe they may have already done it because I know they were working on some adjustments there. We want to be able to sync our schedule with the CRM, right? So if we have, again, I'm working with Mary Brown and I'm taking her out for showings tomorrow, I want to have Mary Brown linked to my contact in the CRM. So afterwards I can see everything I did with Mary Brown, date stamped to the activity. It also makes it easier for tracking. So if I'm going back over my week and going, you know, how many buyer consultations did I do? How many listing presentations did I do? How many sets of showings? I can go back over my week, because if something didn't happen, I'm going to cancel it, because I want it to be up to date in my client's file of what actually we accomplished and what we didn't. Okay. And of course we want mobile access, which most of the programs right now have in one capacity or the other. Teams have additional needs. For sure. We have the needs of being able to see multiple schedules, at least for the administrators and the team leaders minimum. I know some teams have hesitated by having all team members to be able to see each other's schedules. A lot of the big ones they can, because they have inside sales booking appointments maybe for them. Also, if somebody's sick, that we can kind of jump on board, or we're going, hey, I want to talk to this person, where are they, kind of thing. And people just put blocks for their personal time. When I was doing this, our system didn't sync. So I literally had to take all my activities and put them on my phone and put them separately on the CRM connected to the client. So I'd have all the information in both places, because there's no way I could do the volume of business I needed to do with 2 little kids without having my schedule up to date, like to the minute. So the point where I'd have somebody saying, I just tried to book you an appointment there. I'm like, well, I'm with a client right now and I just booked showings, because I would never leave a client without booking another set of showings with them if they were active. So I had to constantly have it up to date, which is why I bookend my day. I had to go to CRM in the beginning and at the end to make sure I sunk them and they were the same. So multiple schedules, we need to be able to have really important. Some of the major brands did huge investments into CRM platforms, and our teams were really excited about them. And then we got them in place, and they were not able to have plans where we allocated or assigned tasks to different people within one plan. This is extremely important for a team. It's what's going to allow you to be cohesive and do much more volume. I have to be able to have one plan, where on that one plan, I can have activities assigned to an agent, assigned to a marketing coordinator, assigned to a contract coordinator, team manager, team leader, if needed. And the list can go on. I know we work with Dion Bagg for investment workshops, which is amazing. He's just phenomenal. But anyways, he'll be coming back to Summit, which, knock on wood, will be happening in November. But he goes to the extent where he even alters plans that we work with to add him into the flow, so that he's notified of things for clients he's working with. So he's so ahead of the curve, and he can be on it, on his game with, hey, a new client's now been signed up. They want to get out looking, you know, we're waiting for X, like the clients need to get paperwork back to Dion. Now we even have activities. So he's in the loop on certain CRM. So it can include multiple people. We want to protect your database. I hear a lot of team members being worried about putting their center of influence on a team database. You should have an agreement that covers all of that before you come on a team. An organized team will always have that. So you should have protection in place. The worry more so is for the team. If I have team members coming onto my CRM and they're not happy and they want to leave the team and they download the entire database and all that privacy information, you can have violations in place. You need to be very, very careful. As well, your database is your business you've built up. So we don't want to work. Some of the databases are like little DNA hubs. So literally the agents hub in. So it's like the team is one hub, the agent's one hub, there's another hub, and they all hub in together. The problem with that can be if the agent and the team leader are not getting along, they decide to go separate ways, fine. But here I am, I'm agent A, the team's over here, I pull my entire database, including all, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leads that the team has paid for, and I just pull them out, and they're not on the team hub, and I can't have plans that coordinate between multiple people. This is very, very difficult. So I highly recommend to have one hub, have everybody on it, have access defined. Like we don't, most of our systems, the agents can't stop and start a buyer plan. Why? Because the administrator or contract coordinator gets the buyer agreement. They get a buyer information sheet. They double check everything's accurate. They fix it. If not, if they need to, they check with the client. So they make sure we have all the phone numbers, all the emails, everything's done appropriately. They activate the buyer plan. so that everybody is accountable to a certain level of service. So it allows us to really make sure we're not dropping the ball by accident in any areas. And if I want to put it on hold, I communicate with the administrator and ask them to do that. So they make sure I set a follow-up, I put notes in place, we're not dropping the client in between the time they're on hold. We have safety nets always. Systems, if anything, will be over cautious to make sure that they have safety nets. What is amazing, awesome, and I really, really loved is the ability to track texting, email, and phone recording all within the system. The latest follow-up boss upgrades update allowed us to do this. Not everybody has signed on for it. I believe there is an upgrade fee, but oh my gosh, for training, it is so phenomenal. If you're an individual agent and you're going like, I don't get it, I'm calling my past clients, I'm calling new opportunities, and it's not turning into anything, and people are going with other agents, and I'm just so frustrated. In our business, one bad call can cost us $10,000, $15,000, $25,000, and we can go up and up and up. Imagine multiple calls where we don't even know that the approach we're doing isn't resonating with the public, right? Right now, having one call where I'm too salesy and I'm not connected to the atmosphere and I'm not caring for my community or my past client, that person could go, you know what? Next time I buy or sell, I'm not going to work with them. We're going through a crisis here. They're not showing any sensitivity to that. So it's really, really important that we're careful with the tonality of our calls and the context and who we're saying what to based on our relationship with them. So being able to record phone calls has been amazing for us. We have clients who bring the recordings on the call and we go through it together, and it's phenomenal because we think we communicate in a certain way and we don't always hear ourselves, clearly when we're on the phone talking to other people. And it just gives us that objective ear, right? That's going to help us move through. And tracking, some people are using the CRMs extensively for tracking. Follow-up boss allows for that. Top producer to a certain extent allows for it. You can do a bunch of custom reports with top producer. Not everyone likes to, but you can. So some of them have more tracking features than others. And team support, as I already mentioned that, can activate the plans. So you don't want it to be that you're the person in, and this is team needs, remember? So just in case you're like, why are she only talking about teams? So you don't want it to be that you're the team leader. So you have to put everything in place. You want it to be process driven. So if you have team support, they should be activating the plans based on paperwork submitted to them, which means there's accountability from the agents and accountability from the support side to work together. So it should be a beautiful domino effect in a positive way of when I do X, team support does Y, but they don't do Y until I do X, right? So until I hand in a listing agreement, they're not going to, set the plans in motion. They're not going to contact the client. They're not going to double check with the stager, give them the go ahead. Like it all should be this beautiful kind of orchestrated experience if we're doing it well. So we want to move from vague to precise, right? Want to move from vague to precise in documenting how we work with our client experience.
As you're flipping slides, somebody just asked about email integration or setting up in their calendar specifically.
Okay.
I can't remember who just asked that question. In any case, I personally use iExact, and the reason why I use it is because I'm an individual agent again, and it does send me reminders in my email with regards to task items that are coming up for me to do. So they don't necessarily go into your, say, Gmail calendar, but it is in a calendar within the system itself. So iExact will have a calendar, and then it'll push a notification to me via email, so I know what I have to touch base with that day. And hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, and I think again, like laser focus is really important. When when you're in the seat that you're selling, I would say everything that's good about doing high volume of I'm trying to make sure with my language right now, everything that's good about being high volume when it comes to helping people, buy or sell and reach their goals, because that is their goal when they're working with you, is about staying in that fast lane so you can be focused at what you're great at. And that's what a CRM helps you do later when you leverage. So to me, this is why I'm saying bookend your day, because I want my schedule to be 100% focused on my top, most highest priorities. What do I need to do today face-to-face that's going to create the most value in the market for the people who need my help most now? What can I do today to provide service to the people who I'm working with in the market who are going to find the most value with what I can help them with now? That's what my face-to-face schedule should be filled with. My prospecting time is its own block. So it's like, I've got this block to do all my prospecting, to do all my untimed activities. And if I do it right from the CRM, Lucia, what I love is I don't have to get into the emails, because it's like, okay, every morning I'm going to bookend. I'm going to go in the morning. I'm going to do, let's say, half an hour of tasks. I'm going to do an hour and a half of prospecting. This is just an example. And then I've got face-to-face appointments. At the end of the day, I'm going to bookend and go into my CRM again. So if there's any other untimed activities, I can do those then. So remember, it's big rocks and sand and pebbles, right? Anything on your actual calendar, like scheduled, should be a big rock. All the other stuff, you want to have half an hour, you want to have, prospecting's a big rock. Hour and a half. I've got some people do 2 hours a day of prospecting. Some people do more. Those are big rocks. The little stuff, yes, allocate time, but also remember, you're gonna fit those tasks in throughout the day. When you're driving, you can have it loaded up to make calls and touch base with all your active people, but they're not as active as the people you're face-to-face with right now, for example. So priority focus, laser focus is so important. We have to prioritize the big rocks and let them pull us through, that all the little sand in between will get done in those minutes in between all the big rocks being serviced. But time block, right? Really, really important. Okay. So that's why I'm a big fan of actually logging into the CRM and having designated time for it, because you can hyper focus on it, which is important.
That's the best place to do it from anyways. Even some email communications, anything of that nature, there's a copy of it in the CRM. It's directed into the notes, and say somebody did lead the team and somebody had to pick up that client. And by the way, it's all there. It's like, it's beautiful.
It's all there. Yeah. Honestly, when your CRM's organized, it's as close to seamless as you can feel, which to me, I could have never sold what I did with my kids at the time on my own without the CRM. Like, never. When people even talk to me, like, honestly, I have a physical aversion, like, to the paper books with scheduling, because I just go, oh my God, like, I just see the nightmare of like how much I was scheduling all the time and the pace of business. But to each their own. I just think it gives us an edge. So here's some things, terms of engagement with CRM. I'm not going to jump super far into this today. If anyone wants the database 10 commandments, just let us know. You can put your hand up right on chat, just let us know, or we might just send it to everybody. I'll see what my team thinks is easiest. That's their department. I trust them for that. So database 10 commandments is basically the things we promise to do. Right? So one of them, for example, is write notes, update notes in the CRM within 24 hours. Another one is always submit all paperwork within 24 hours of a business day, if you have an administrator, to the admin. These are things that allow your team to keep running. The 10 commandments are things that seem little, that, trust me, when they break, they take a huge amount of effort and energy, which is really hard. So use this time now. Like, using this time to get your CRM in order will give you so much more efficiency and capacity to sell more later, right? So really, really important. Short form notes and acronyms. You want a set of acronyms that you actually are consistent with, so that if you do bring on an unlicensed assistant or a licensed assistant, you can say, these are the acronyms I use, these are what they mean. And then if you ever expand into a team, you can do the same. If you have a team, they're mandatory. You don't want all these different notes and you don't know what people are doing or what it means. It just becomes super messy. So have a set list of acronyms for the CRM and what they mean. And they should plug into your plans, right? So if I have a new lead plan and I'm going to call, let's say that example. So I'm going to call 10 times, I'm going to call every 2 days. So the only way I would get up to my 10th call is if no one answered the phone for me. They didn't reply to my text. My plan might have an email in it. It might have a couple text messages in it. If you have a strong CRM, you can integrate email, text, and calls all within your plan, and the text and emails will go out automatically. You can also separately have email drips and keep your call plans separate. You can totally do both. Okay, so let's just say, sorry, back to my example. So let's say I'm going to call 10 times, all right? And I'm going to call every 2 days. When I go back to call the 10th time, and let's say I'm calling Ravinder and I've tried him 10 times, he had requested something of me, or he wanted information off of realtor.com or realtor.ca, Zillow, whatever, and I'm on my 10th call. I go into the CRM, I should see NA in my world 9 times, which means no answer, no answer, no answer, no answer. But it takes 2 seconds to just put NA, put enter. The system's going to put your initials. If you're on a team, if you're not, it'll still do it. They know it's you reaching out. Another reason why to have another license for your admin is a great idea. So you can actually see what they're doing because it's going to track it based on their initials. You can see who's doing what, which is kind of great. But I'm going to put that down. And the last time I'm going to call, I'm going to put LMNA. I have to see it. Left message, no answer. So because in our plan, the last time we call, if it was a direct response lead, we're going to leave a voice message. Whereas if it was like a sign call, an ad call, realtor.ca, we'll leave a voice message the first time and the last time. But if it's like a Facebook lead, a pay-per-click lead, we'll only leave a voice message at the end, right? So my plan might be a little bit different depending on the source of lead. Organizing your notes. There are key things you need to know when you talk to somebody. You need to know some personal things that are important to them. They'll bring that up on the call if you're strong at building rapport. We also want to put in there, are they a first-time buyer, or are they a buy first? Are they a sell first? Are they considering other agents? What is their timing? You want acronyms for all of that. So a lot of our people will move up their most important notes, like of let's say the key 5 questions that we ask on every call. They'll move up the answers to those every single time they talk, or some of them have done a shortcut, which I really like if you have it. Some of our people we work with have like an empty field on their CRM that they're not using. So for example, they bring up Ravinder and there's a field there. I don't have an example right now. I wish I did, but it doesn't matter. There's a field where you can type something in that they're not using and they're not planning on using it in the next couple of years. They'll put the acronyms right there. So the minute they're calling that person, if they pick up, if they have talked to them and they're doing a follow-up, they can see that information so they can really quickly go into a follow-up call and have it personal and connect, which is super important, right? So always move up your most important notes that when somebody picks up the phone, you can trust your CRM. You have to be able to trust it to do high volume of calls. If you cannot trust your notes or the way you've organized them, your call volume will go significantly down. Okay, so that will help as well. When to book a follow-up, great rule of thumb. If it's within 6 months, call in half the time. If it's after that, call in a third of the time, but a max of 121 days. If you're booking somebody in your CRM to call them like in a year, it's because you're going, hey, it likely doesn't represent business, but whatever, I'm just going to throw it in there. You never know, and that's totally fine. But you don't want to be booking follow-ups too far out because life changes, mentalities change. You want to be on it. So if somebody in our world is saying, hey, we want to think about buying or selling in 12 months, for us, they're 6 months away from the window where we're going to meet with them potentially. So we're definitely not calling them anywhere over 90 days, maybe even 60 days, to be honest, for most, but maybe 90 days. Okay, just to give an example. And the hot list. Everybody always wants a hot list. Your hot list can be done by tagging or it can be done on paper. And your hot list is always having a list of like prime people who are committed to who are not even motivated, who are stating that their time and their intention is to buy or sell within the spring market or the fall market or within 6 months. You always want to have that. So if there's any changes in the market, like an interest rate change, or now, we're going through this crisis, you're going to 100%, once you solve problems for your active clients who are going, how am I going to close? Am I going to get an appraisal? Like, we're going to solve immediate problems. But once you've done that, you definitely want to reach out to hot list clients and of course community, friends and family right now as well. But those people are closest to wanting to make a transaction. So they're more likely to have questions for you. Right. And okay, so the next ones I'm going to go through a little bit quicker, and I can send the slides out probably too to make life easier because I'm not going to jump into this. This is just for you to know what you need. So these are going to be really quick, so I don't want to skip them. Prospecting plans. I need a new lead plan, which is for all new opportunities. We already talked about that. I need a follow-up plan for potential business. I should have a plan if I've set an appointment to remind me to do a reminder or to automate an email reminder, to send a text message, all that fun stuff. I should have a center of influence and or past client plan, because sometimes we've built our database up, but they're not all past clients yet, right? So you want to have a plan for how often to contact those people. And if you have inside sales, we have a separate new lead plan for them. They call exponentially more because all they do is calling. So they stagger their calling. So if you ever have someone call for you, it's not going to be the same plan as you. They're not going to call 10 times every 2 days. you're not going to get your value from their role there. So that's different. Okay, and again, if you're our client, please connect with your coach or our vault, because we have all these plans for you guys already. You just need to input them and get in the habit of using them. Client experience plans and emails. Again, I'm going to be fast. We need, on the buyer side, a buyer plan, which is going to automate best practices of the top agents who do the highest volume with happy buyers, which is important. We want both. We need a postponement plan. They're going on hold. They can't be active right now. They want to get active again in 4 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it is. We have a buyer accepted, firm, and close plans. Seller, we have an initial seller plan, which we call listing checklist. We have a listing relist if we cancel and relist at a different price. We have a seller accepted plan, firm and closed. So we need all of those plans as core to our CRM. If you're an individual agent, you might do some of this. If you're an individual agent with an unlicensed assistant, 100% you should be doing all of this. I highly recommend it. They're going to take so many tasks off your plate, and they're going to free up your bandwidth to worry about so much less, which is great, because here's the beauty with this. Remember, you're gonna sit down if you have an unlicensed assistant and maybe they're working remote right now and say, okay, we're gonna brainstorm every single thing we do with a buyer from the start of working with them up to them being a past client. Then we're going to break it down into plans, and we're going to allocate what I do and what you do. And then you're going to know exactly what they say or what they send or how they're doing it, but you're going to have full confidence of knowing they're going to get this task in the database. I can see them getting the task. They're only ever going to click it done when it's done. That's one of the 10 commandments. You never click an activity done unless it's actually done. It's going to give you so much more freedom to know that your clients are being taken care of, and they're hearing all those little things that create realistic expectations, which make for happier clients, right? What else do we need? Emails, letters, cards. Here are some of our basic emails that go with our plans. So our plans include emails that get sent or letters that get sent. So getting your home ready. Thank you for choosing me as a buyer. Happy home anniversary. You could do this once a year for 5 years. You could do it once a year for 10 years. You could do it once a year for 20 years. It just depends on your strategy. So you decide, that's up to you. Depends on your demographic and a whole bunch of factors. Congratulations when they purchase. Congratulations, it's sold. Market review letter is giving a seller the heads up that an agent is going to be calling and sitting down with them to review anything that's sold, any changes in statistics, feedback from showings, what the stager maybe recommended they do to get their home ready, so that when the agent calls, the seller's already expecting it and they know it's part of the service that we provide. I remember even in 2008, I think I had one, I had one seller where I did 10 market reviews with them. So I went back 10 different times where we did of the process, and we did a cancel and relist. In the end, they sold, and they sold for what was fair market value at that time. And they actually got a great value on the home they bought because they were doing a move up move. But it was so important that I had that process, because I saw so many people throwing their hands up and just going like, what am I going to do? I've got to go back and face this seller again. And, you know, it was a strong buyer's market and the home was not moving. And I was so thankful that I worked with the system and I had the language and the approach. So my seller knew I was trying to provide a better service. I wasn't just trying to bring their sale price down. I was trying to make sure they were educated so they could get ahead of things and not lose more money because I could potentially not communicate as an agent. Tags, here's a bunch of examples. I'll send them to you guys after. Use as many tags as you need to. The agent, if you're on a team, then you would have agent name and the lead, whether they're an active buyer or seller. Are they on hold? Are they now a past client? You want to tag lead source always. A lot of people tag certain geographic areas. If you do special emails for a certain area, if you farm a certain area, you 100% want to be putting geographic tags. If you're doing online social media ads that are done geographically, another great reason to have that tag so that you have those lists for later on, really powerful. We want to tag if they're an investor, if they're family. These are just examples. You guys are going to have more. Are they a first-time buyer? Are they a seller? Are they a buy and sell? And if they're a VIP COI, we definitely would tag them in addition to having the plan. Why? The tags allow you to pull lists that allow you to send customized emails or do customized marketing to these people. Or again, we have a market shift. and we go, oh my gosh, okay, we need to get whoever's going to list in the next 6 months, we're going to need listing inventory. Let's pull all of our hot lists, listing leads. Some people use tags for that as well. Document your approach. I'll send you guys this again. It's because I'm looking way over. It is an example. This is something I did with a team for Top Producer. So we put together an entire approach because Top Producer and Follow-Up Boss are different. So we gave them instructions on exactly what to do with a new lead, when to activate it, when to activate a follow-up plan. These are what all the steps are, and I'll just send them to you guys. And this was what we did with their funnels. So a producer, for example, has 4 different funnels. So all of their new was only new leads they had never talked to. That's all that was in there. Their engaged was only follow-ups or people who had an appointment booked. Future were people we had never contacted that we put on email drips for anywhere from 6 months to a year. And past was past client or their personal database. This allowed us to be really, really quick with calling because the new lead funnel, they would call the whole list every single day, no matter what. And they would just watch the date the lead came in and stop calling on day 30, for example. Whereas anybody in Engaged already had an activity in their calendar. So they would just watch to make sure that they were on top of their follow-ups, or if the appointment fell through, that they rebooked them as a follow-up. Future, if no one had replied 18 months to 24 months later, we would move them out. We would stop their email campaign and we would just dud them. So I don't want to forget to say this, and this might be one of our close to closing remarks. Never delete your database, never delete a lead. The only people you would delete is like Spider-Man, and my email is spiderman@hotmail.com. Like, yes, okay, you can delete those. But everybody else, like you might have an email and a request, and 6 months later, you might get the same email and now you have a phone number requesting something else. You might call somebody for 6 months, never hear from them, and then have another request in a year from now. That's valuable information you can enrich over time. Companies are working diligently to work with artificial intelligence to get algorithms with all sorts of data and then bring it into our databases. It's really important. You want your database to be as comprehensive and as enriched, which means accurate as possible. It's a big part of the value of your business. So we might dud a lead, and dudding a lead in our world means I don't have any active plans for them anymore. So I have nothing prompting me anymore to call this person, but I'm not deleting them. If I did an all database email or newsletter, they would still get it. I'm not deleting anything. They can unsubscribe, but I'm not actively calling them anymore. So there's a big difference. So what can we have from all this?
Kathleen, before you go into, I just want to make sure I answer this question. I don't want to get lost. Somebody asked with regards to a sequence for buying and selling. I would just, for that person who asked the question, which is Dave, you just need to basically look at the logical process of what you're doing in terms of the buying and selling process. So we call them buckets, like what we put them into. So if you have a buyer checklist, which is what their initial stages, initial consult, that kind of thing, to a buyer getting sold conditional, to a buyer getting sold firm, to a buyer getting closed, and then they become a past client. So just think of it in the process as what we do as realtors, and then you'll be able to come up with the individual plans for each of those times within the process. Same thing from the seller's perspective as well.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Break it down. Definitely. Okay. So no more missed calls, flipping through notes, organizing to start calling. It's like, I'm going to plan to start planning. No, plan in advance. So when you have time to call, all you're doing is calling. Really, really important. Strategic time is different than efficiency, productive time. It really helps our brain to be like, wait, you can't mix these two. When I'm running, right? No more forgetting who people are. If you're like me, I never forget a face. I never forget what's going on with their business and their strategy. I never forget a client's face, and I never forget a house. I am horrible at names. Like, I can remember that somebody was struggling with something and trying to rebuild their business like 6 years later when I talked to them, but names, I'm really, really bad. So I rely on my CRM. We don't want to forget who people are. And past clients going MIA because they haven't heard from us and they don't want to talk to us anymore, that's not a good feeling. So we don't need to go through any of that by organizing our CRM. Some of you, you'll go into leverage, you'll bring on somebody whose genius or unique ability is in the areas that you're weak in. For some of you, that might be CRM organization. If you've got someone working remotely right now and you're trying to keep them busy, allow them to put in place these systems and tools to help you. It doesn't have to be you. right? There's a lot I do in my business, or there's a lot we do in our business that I don't do all of it because I'm not the right person to do it. And it would be a mess if I did it. And I'm totally okay with that. So like anything, if you need support, get it. Nobody's great at all things. These are just a list of, steps. If you want to bring on support, you want to leverage, you want to get some help. This is a list of all of the things that we train on in this department. Like when it comes to admin, CRM, hiring, unlicensed support, all that kind of fun stuff. So we will send you all of these slides just because I tried not to, I thought I didn't dive deep, Lucia.
You dove way deep.
This is surface. I really tried. I tried my best. So we will send this out to everyone. We'll also post what everybody is doing to be productive, and I'll be able to see everybody's questions after. So tomorrow it will be Ron, James, and myself of taking now these pieces of the sales process. So those of you ask, what are the pieces? How do I break it down? We're going to take the sales process and talk about how to take it virtually, completely. So we're going to go into an hyper-focused environment of how can we transition and pivot. So thank you so much for joining us. If you found value and you think you could help someone else to join this, please feel free to invite a friend. I think we have up to 500 people who can be on all of this. And we just want to kind of keep doing these as long as people need to stay connected and can benefit from them. Any parting thoughts, Lucia?
Quick thing. Do we have it on our site, the Genius test? I can't remember if we have that there. We have some.
Yeah, for our clients, yes. So we have the whole process to figure out and align what your genius is and how to get to a place where you do 80% of your activities there. Yeah, so for coaching clients, anything I've talked about for coaching clients, reach out to your coach because we have resources for all of them. And everyone else, stay with us on the Mastermind because they're all going to build on each other. We're not going to leave you hanging. You're going to be like, oh, now they're talking about that piece. I wondered what that was. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay safe, stay productive, stay strategic. We will talk to you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Bye, everybody.